Welcome to the Eastgate Podcast. This is
Let's Talk About It
with Lawana, Schrieffer, and Nate Prepelka. We dive into tough questions, real-life challenges, and what it means to walk with Christ. In this episode, we are joined by Janelle Greene as we talk about the topic of grace. Good morning. My name is Nate. I am the student pastor here at Eastgate.
I'm Lawana, and I am a board member and a life coach.
And I'm Janelle, and I am a pastor here at Eastgate and a special guest for today. Can I call myself special?
Yes.
Maybe you were just going to say guest.
We were waiting to have a drum roll or something, but go ahead, Janelle. Just put yourself out there.
I'm too excited.
Let me quote your dad. Yes, you are special.
Thank you.
Okay, so today we're talking about grace, which is something that I grew up in the church and I hadn't heard about until I came to Eastgate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know
that was like an unknown concept to me.
Wait. Can I ask questions before you're introing?
Yes.
What was your thought of grace before Eastgate? Or was it just not in your brain at
It
all?
was not in my brain at all.
But you knew it was like part of Christianity. Like maybe it was like on Jeopardy. If they said which religion would grace belong to.
I don't know. I don't think I would have related that to Christianity.
Oh, okay.
I think that was just not a concept in my mind.
I love this. This is going to be an interesting
I'm
conversation.
so fascinated by this perspective. Okay, sorry, you can continue with your intro.
That was it.
I have more questions then. Great. So what was it? What were your thoughts then when you first started hearing about grace at Eastgate?
It started to break down all of like I've said before, like I've been trying to rebuild my foundation. It started to break all that down. My previous foundation of everything that I had learned, and it's just slowly, chipped away at it. And then, I was like, this doesn't make sense. If, grace is a thing, all this other stuff that I had learned, they don't work together.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Nate, you look so comfortable over there, being grilled by Janelle. I like watching it.
Full eye contact from two of us.
I know. He's trying to run. You got to stay here. You're the producer. We need you.
He's gone.
Oh, my gosh. I love that. I love that you were open to receiving a different perspective of the foundation of Christianity, which definitely has grace. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It's been a lot better, lot better experience.
Yeah.
I think growing up at Eastgate, I forget that's a really normal and regular experience within Christianity of that not being mentioned or talked about, and and in some ways knowing people who have left the church without ever hearing about grace or experiencing grace. I'm like, well, I can understand if you think. If it's all can be kind of a works-based idea of I have to do this well or God's going to be upset. I don't know if that's how you felt about it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that kind of
behavior?
Yeah, behavior, definitely.
Yeah. So I didn't understand grace, and it is really part of the fact that I kind of believe salvation was free, but then I believe that you had to keep it by being good or getting things right, and so.
Oh, interesting.
I'm an oldest, and I'm the oldest of 5, and I was always the rule follower. I checked off every box. I never rebelled. And so grace to me did not make sense. I don't understand if they do it, if they get it wrong, because I wasn't ever going to get it wrong. Nate has to put up with me saying that all the time. I'm always right. So I didn't worry about it. But I don't understand why these people who are messing up so bad have this opportunity to be forgiven or brought back. And I have to say, I hated the prodigal.
I was about to say, you're reminding me of the prodigal son.
I hated it.
That story.
I love the prodigal, the older brother. I was like, yes, he shouldn't be able to come back. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
And so grace has been this thing that I knew about because we're saved by grace, not by works. But I thought, but what are we sustained by? It's got to be what I do or how I behave or how good I am. And so grace was just this thing that I did not understand until really recently.
What changed for you to understand it recently?
What changed for me to understand it recently is I became the mother of 4 adulting children. And when they started moving out of the house, I realized I want them to be able to come home. I want to be the prodigal father. Whoa. And that is what started me on this journey of learning about grace. I don't want my kids to feel like they cannot tell me something, that they can't fail, that they can't mess up because they had to keep this behavior, and that's the only way they were going to be acceptable to me. And then when I started having that thought, I just had to start thinking like, is that how God feels about me? That I don't have to be keeping all these rules? And so that's how it started.
And that's interesting too, then, with adult children, kind of thinking about that, where you'd normally see yourself as the older sibling. When you put yourself in that father's position and that parent position, does that change your perspective too about the older sibling in relation to the other sibling that's not doing well? In terms of like, from a parent perspective, you want to be like, hey, it's just good that they're home. Like, why would you that? Yeah. I don't know if that changed too.
Well, one of the things that happened was I finally realized that I was a prodigal son. That was
That's
the first
amazing.
little one. I mean, I was like, you're not getting everything right. And even though you're not, you're a prodigal too. Mm-hmm. You want to do your own things. You want to have things your own way. You think you have pride. Like, you are not this perfect being.
Like, God's like, you've been rolling around with the pigs. you think you're been on the porch at the house. Wow, that's amazing.
You got those pearls on, but it's in the pig pen.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, and then as the oldest, I'm studying the prodigal son with
I was about to say, are you in that small group right now? Fun.
And I realized that both of the kids saw the father not in his true nature, which is that he loved them. So the younger son's like, I want my stuff. I wish you were dead. He takes off. And the younger son's like, I've done all these things.
The older one, yeah.
I've worked for your love, and you are showing love to this kid who didn't. I should have the love. And it's like the dad welcomes that son back, but he also goes and searches out the older son and has a conversation with him. He shows love. He has love for both of his kids, the prodigal and the older son, because God is the constant. God is the thing. And that has been what I've been realizing over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Just, that's interesting how they're both kind of going, like, one is like, what can I get out of you? Mm-hmm. And one is like, what do I need to do to prove to you? Yeah. And neither is like what the father's looking for.
Right. One's like, I want what I want now. And one's like, I deserve this because I've done this, and this. It's like, you owe me. Yeah. They're both are saying you owe me in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
One wants it.
One is doing it because of what wow, that's so good. And that's where I remember you were talking, I mean, just before this started, so it wasn't that long ago, but I remember way back when, 20 minutes ago. Nate, you were too young, you don't remember. But that idea of grace kind of getting you out of the mindset of like the works-based faith.
I think that's kind of what you're saying too, right? Like, your foundation was like behavioral based, like I have to behave a certain way.
Yeah, it was definitely behavioral. But yeah, no, as you were talking about the story with the prodigal son, I was kind of thinking about how, once I experienced grace and how that completely changed and transformed me to where, like, if there's a situation where normally I would want to get justice if somebody wronged me, now it's like, how can I extend that grace that I experienced to this person?
Yeah, I love that. I do think I have a tendency. I was thinking this last night. You're a grace hoarder. Like, you get like God gives you so much grace, and you're just holding it tight to yourself. Like, oh,
that's a great perspective.
Like, there's such a grace hoarder, because I can still be so judgmental, and I'm like, how are you so judgmental when God is showing you so much grace? And grace, I always think of your dad's sermon about forgiveness and the tap, and how forgiveness comes to you from God, and it's supposed to flow through you
Right.
You're not supposed to hoard it. You're not supposed to turn off the tap. And when you turn off the tap because you don't want to forgive, then then it's blocking being forgiven.
Yeah.
And so when you're not able to extend grace, then it's blocking it up. It's like a dam, like,
Yeah.
right? You're like blocking up the grace. So yeah, I totally like, oh my gosh, I'm like, Lord, help me stop being so judgmental. It's that older son mentality. It's like,
Yeah.
that's
And
been hard to break.
It's crazy, you know, that grace, I don't feel like it comes from me, because that's not, you know,
No.
that's not what I want. I want justice. And it's like this thing that I've experienced that, like, I don't know, just like took over, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah.
And I actually, it's interesting, like working with you, I see that in you with different situations where, you know, someone's maybe being, unfair in how maybe they treat people on staff, or maybe they're treating people in the church. And I feel like your first reaction is like that grace and that compassion for them. And sometimes I get frustrated by that.
That's not my first reaction. that's my first verbal reaction.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's good.
That counts.
That's self-control. That's self-control.
In my head, I'm like, oh, this.
No, but I see you living that out and like caring for that person. And so, yeah, as I can just say, like as a witness, you actually do that.
Cool.
I think that, you know, talking about being a grace hoarder, I think that that's something too with the church of like Eastgate was built on grace. You know, like that was really like of everything. It's built on grace and God's grace, not just like we decided grace is good. Like
we love it.
It's about like receiving that, understanding that, learning it, and trying to live it out. And I think that, you know, that is something too that sometimes people get frustrated by, because I think that it's that idea of like receiving that grace. I know I need it, but then when other people in the community sometimes need it, there can be a frustration of like, yeah, but they're doing this, and it's like, oh no, like we're not just here to receive this. Like
Right.
we have to give this out.
Yeah.
And like for everybody in the community, including staff, because I think from a leadership perspective, when people don't always offer me grace in those situations, I'll be like, oh, well, they're right. I don't deserve it. I shouldn't have this. And realizing like, oh no, we all have to do this for each other. It can't just be
hoarding.
Yeah.
We need t-shirts.
But
right?
it's hard,
Grace
you know.
hoarder.
It's hard because like, you know, I come by it naturally, and I think most people do, which is just kind of beating yourself up or feeling like, you know, this idea of who I could be versus who I am. And so it can be so hard to unlearn how you think God sees you, because I would start the day like waking up before I've done anything, assuming God's disappointed in me in some way. Like just, you know.
That's fun.
Like you could be better.
Wow.
I'm like, I know.
Here's Janelle waking up again.
I mean, really. Like, but it wouldn't even matter if I had done everything perfectly.
Right.
Even on days where I'm like, man, I did so good. But remember those other days I didn't.
Right.
Like it was just that kind of mindset. So it's so hard to like unlearn, you know, that God's, because you just have this, I guess for me, I don't want to speak for everybody. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe y'all have never dealt with this. This idea of like,
I'm kind of like, not that. That's not me. I'm like, golly, Lawana, you're so awesome.
like,
That's why I'm grace
like
hoarder.
God's picking me first.
Look at me. Look at me. That's
No, that's good. So we've got the whole spectrum here then
Yes,
of that.
right.
But I think just having to accept God's grace, because it's like, I just, you know, if you think that you're in this like ditch of disappointment from God, you think, well, I'll get out of this by doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
You know, and to just realize it's just accepting that I'm actually not in a ditch and God
Right.
loves me.
Or he's in a ditch with you.
Yeah, or he's in there with me, but like just like that it's okay, that I'm okay today as I am, who I am walking in this door is okay.
Right.
That's a hard thing.
I have a couple of things, a couple of thoughts. One is I love when I do this because I never look them up. So I'm like, there's some verse in Psalms. So good about these verses.
Like these verses will catch up to
It's
me.
somewhere in Psalms, I'm pretty
Okay,
sure,
do you want me to Google it?
where it talks about how God's mercy is new every
Yes.
morning,
Mhm.
and so is His grace. Like the grace that you need for the day is given to you. The grace that you need for whatever He's calling you to is given to you. It's not like He's going to give you these assignments. He's going to give you this obligations or things that He wants, and He's not going. That's part of the equipping is that He gives you grace for what you need, and so you're not out there on your own. That's what I used to be like. I have to get this done. I need to be able to do these things, and I'm like by myself. And he's like, you're never by yourself. I said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's another part of the Bible. He says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. So that means daily you're getting the grace that you need for the day. Yeah. You're daily. He's pretty serious about the daily bread concept because it requires us to be dependent on him daily. Because if we're not dependent, if we had it all figured out, then we would never be asking God for it. We wouldn't be in a relationship. We'd be like, I got this. I could do this. And we'd be giving ourselves all the credit. So when you're waking up, it's like, well, I know there's grace for the day. Janelle, there's going to be grace for the day. Whether you get it all right or you get it all wrong, God is giving me grace for it.
Yeah.
And he's not surprised.
He's not like, it's you again.
I don't have a plan for this.
Okay, so I did look it up. It's Lamentations 3:22-23. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great?
I need that one.
Yeah, but that's where I think that for me on my journey with grace is that I had to really unlearn, even though I grew up here. That's what I think is, sometimes I'm like, oh, there's another level of disappointment that God must have. Like you literally grew up in a church that's built on grace and you still don't get it. But I think that it's like, no, it's a journey for everybody. Yeah. Like no one's immune from that journey or like exempt from that journey, I guess is what I should say. And so I had to really practice. I felt like just in my conversations with God of like almost God being like, what would it look like if you just woke up and knew I loved you? Like without having to do that. And so I think, but it's a daily thing of like, no, this isn't like, I don't want to put all these things on God that are not from the Bible. That's from my anxieties.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think too, going to the Bible for the source of that is so helpful. Because it's like, well, what is the Bible saying about God? Well, this is like what we just read. That's what the Bible's saying.
That's what it says.
So
I love it. Other thing I was thinking about is when I was thinking about grace years ago, it just was about salvation because it does tell us that we're saved by grace, not by the works, any works that we're going to do, right? But I also was thinking that I was thinking about Adam and Eve and how they broke the rule. I think of the commandments now as boundaries because I'm like, these are God's boundaries of how you can stay in right relationship with him.
Yeah. That's in the book Boundaries. They talk about how boundaries are like in the Bible and they use Adam and Eve as that example. Yeah. Which I was like, there's boundaries in the Bible. What do you say? Boundaries. But it was great. I thought it was such a good perspective.
It was such a cool perspective. I was thinking of Adam and Eve and how they broke the boundaries. They do the tree thing and they eat the thing. And God shows them so much grace because he provides clothing for them. He kills the animals. He provides some clothing. And although he removes them out of Eden, he doesn't remove his presence for them. In the book, in Genesis, after they're out of Eden, God is still talking to Cain and Abel. God is still with them. And even with Cain, he protects him. Cain's scared. He's like, I don't want to go. People are going to kill me. And God's like, I'm going to protect you. And so grace wasn't that. Mercy was that he didn't make them physically die. Right? That was mercy. I mean, we say now that it was a spiritual death, but mercy, I mean, he said you will surely die. If we were just taking that at face value, they should have been dead. They should have died.
Right.
Physically and spiritually. But he not only does he not kill them, he removes them and he sets them up. He goes beyond just letting them live. He takes them out of Eden, but he stays with them. He stays with them even though they broke the law. They failed. I would have been like, oh, got to start over. But he didn't. And I think I see that in a lot of the things in the Bible when they talk about how people do things. I talked to Janelle about Paul maybe a month or at least a month ago, because I was thinking about identity, how he got shifted from Saul to Paul. And I asked her, I was like, I don't understand how he wasn't so what's the word? Like
loathing?
Yeah, self-loathing, because he had murdered all these people. He thought he was doing right and he was wrong. He was so wrong. How did he allow himself to step into that new identity and go forward into a new way without bringing all that baggage with him? And you said it was grace. And I was like, what?
And I was like, stop talking. It's grace. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I realized. Just kidding. Another text from Lawana.
I love him so much.
So long. You said it was grace. And I wanted you to you said it was something that Paul had said, right? That he talks a lot about grace.
Yeah. I mean, you see almost every book he's talking about it. When I was like looking up before this podcast, like, oh, okay, where's Paul saying it? It's like, which book? Like, do you want him? Which book would you like me to reference?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty much every single one.
That
it's that foundation of it. And I pulled up one. This is Romans 3:23. For everyone has sinned, we all fall short of God's glorious standard. Yet God in his grace freely makes us right in his sight. He did this through Christ Jesus when he freed us from the penalty of our sins. And for God presented Jesus as the sacrifice for sin. People are made right with God when they believe that Jesus sacrificed his life, shedding his blood. This sacrifice shows God was being fair when he held back and did not punish those who sinned in times past. But I mean, literally every book.
Yeah.
He's like,
I love it. And I love that. I love the example of Paul because, like we were saying, God didn't just stop Paul from murdering Christians.
Right.
He elevated him. The guy wrote half of the New Testament.
Right.
So he didn't just forgive him for killing people, but he re-identified him and he gave him something more. He gave him what he was looking for, but he was looking for it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
God gives it to him. And now Paul doesn't even hold on to that, being a successful thing. He's like, this is dung. Like I've done all these things. I got all these awards and I've learned and I'm the best of the best.
Look at what I did. Look at my tally of people I've saved.
Yeah.
And cities I've visited.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says that Christ is the reward, Christ is the thing. And so it's like, God doesn't just leave us where we are. B, he doesn't just save us from where we are. He restores us. He redeems us. He opens doors for us.
Right.
He changes the whole narrative. And that is all because of his grace.
Yeah. I love that. And that's where I think when we can understand that grace comes from God, I think that helps us in staying humble about it. That it's not, because if when we go back to like the behavior-based idea of Christianity, then it's almost like I don't need God because I've got this, and this, and God's lucky to have me. Where it's like, no, it's this idea of like this can only come from God, and this it doesn't matter how hard I work. It's you're still going to be the prodigal son, right? Like you said, like realizing, like, oh, I'm the prodigal son. Yeah, but
the problem is me.
Yeah, but just that, but that even that humility and allowing for grace in our lives, and allowing for that to be our future.
I was just thinking, while you two were talking, how if we are able to submit and receive that grace, how we can become a conduit of grace.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what Paul was. And your example, too, of like if he had just said, oh, my gosh, what I did was the worst. I'm the worst, but thank you, God, for saving me. But, man, and his whole message was just that he was the worst. Yeah. Like that so much is lost at that point. Right. But to accept that grace and then go to share that grace.
I think I heard one time somebody said, and this is a little, but it's still, they said, it's easy to love Jesus. I mean, he's easy to love. It's harder to receive the love. It's harder to receive the grace. It's harder to receive the love because as some part of us knows we don't deserve it. And we think that there must be something we need to do for it. Like, that doesn't make sense. Of course, I need to do something to have the God of the universe, like of all things, care about me, to get me a job that I didn't even know that I needed. To provide, to prepare, to promise, and keep his word. So grace was just this like foreign concept until God in his grace. Yeah. I mean, it's all based on grace, right?
So you realize how much it like affects everything. Yeah.
It affects everything. I wanted to say grace multiplies. It opens doors you could not open on your own. It protects and it provides. It forgives and reestablishes. Grace is free flow on and arrives right on time. It keeps your bills paid and your dreams alive. It creates and discovers new and good when you only so old and hard.
Oh, that's so good. Did you write? Where'd you get that?
I wrote that.
That's so good. If we look at 2 Corinthians 12:9, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in
your weakness.
And so it's that understanding that it's like, and that's what God does all the time, is he turns these things upside down. Like where we'd be like, oh, this weakness has to be fixed.
Right.
And it's like, God's like, no, I'm made strong in your weakness.
Yeah.
Like, you just be you.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think like, I've got to be this strong person for God to use in that way.
I got to have it all together.
Yeah,
I got to have it all figured out.
I'll say that something Dad quotes a lot with Grace that I really like, which is just him being so intentional to like never be afraid to boldly preach grace or err on the side of grace. Martin Lloyd-Jones famously said, unless you're accused of preaching lawlessness, you are not preaching grace the way Paul did.
Oh, yeah.
Have y'all heard that before?
No. No.
But it's that, and because that is something too that, you know, we've had so many people leave, even somebody like, you know, recently like trolling our Facebook pages and stuff because of the grace that we offer.
Yeah.
And just saying like, you are like, I mean, Dad's been accused of like, you're sending people to hell because you're not yelling at them for
about
X
hell.
and Y sin.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
Dad's like, well, yeah, I'm going through doing this the way I feel like Paul did this, which is like never to encourage like, hey, it's all good. You live your life. Like there's a standard and there's a calling that we have, but we have to understand like this is all only accomplished through God's grace.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be.
No, yeah. I think, you know, the brain doesn't listen to what we don't like, you know, I don't want it. It cultivates itself towards what you're saying and getting it. So if you don't want to go to hell isn't saying I want to be with God. I want to be in relation with God. Those are two different things.
So good.
I had a coach one day say, if you had a bullseye and you're trying not to be disappointed and you're like trying not to hit the disappointment, that's not hitting joy. You're still in the bullseye of disappointment.
Dang.
You're
so
not
good.
even in the bullseye of joy because you're just focusing on what you don't want. So
Yes.
telling people about hell doesn't tell them that all works itself out if they understand the grace and the love of God. You don't have to tell them about hell. Help them hit the bullseye on a relationship with God, on receiving love, on receiving grace, on being humble, understanding peace, and that God wants to be in relationship and not about behavior modification.
That's so good.
That works the hell part out. Because the closer you are to Jesus,
don't worry.
The farther away
that
you
wrinkle's
are
going to smooth itself. You just keep going.
Just keep your eyes on the Lord.
That's so good, and that's where I think people have been so frustrated. And Dad's like, all this would create is like behavior modifications. None of it's getting to the heart,
right?
Which is like we're not here to create robots that do what we think, like walk this certain way and do this certain thing.
Yeah.
Like it's for the heart.
Yeah,
that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately and contemplating, but I've never been able to put it into words like that.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was really good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this idea of not behavior modification, right? We want justice. Someone wrongs us, someone sins. We need that sin to be justified. But like with grace and Christ's love, it takes the shift off of that and onto something greater, something that can be built, something that can be renewed.
Yeah, and remembering that it's through Christ's sacrifice that we have this. I mean, that's what Paul was saying in the verses we read from Romans. Like, it's not just like we all decided grace is good and we're gonna like be like, yeah, let's have grace now. But it's like it's through Jesus' sacrifice and that idea that justice like is important to God.
The focus isn't the sin; it's Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that, especially as a youth pastor, Nate. I think emphasizing it's not behavior because they're getting that from everywhere.
Yeah,
you know, from school, from parents, from anybody who thinks they're an adult or authority. Is always questioning or trying to advocate for a change of behavior, but it's a heart thing. That's grace. Grace is like you can be my wild child, and I still I'm going to give you grace. And that's what we want to do for other believers. It's like, you can be the wild child, and we still are going to see the grace of God. We're going to still try to express the grace of God towards you, because He expresses it towards us. And we are conduits. I love that. I guess I'll have to give up my hoarding tendencies. It's time for me to let those
Pull
go.
the plug.
Turn it off.
I think that, too, talking about like Paul and like his history, that we know he persecuted Christians.
Yeah.
And just, when you were talking about him, I was thinking like, if he was in a lineup of who we would pick for writing half the New Testament of people, like he would be the last pick. and that like, even with King David of like, it makes me think of like when Cinderella's in the attic, they're like, do you have any more siblings? They're like, no. And with David, they're like, do you have any more siblings? Like, I guess David over here. And like, God's like, that's the one for king. And it's that same thing of like him constantly picking the people we wouldn't think, and with David, it's like, because God's looking at the heart and realizing that Paul, for him to be able to look at Paul's heart in that moment before he had shown anything towards God's goodness or God's grace, like at that time where he's persecuting Christians.
Right.
But for God to look and see the potential in that heart.
That is amazing.
I don't know. It just kind of was like, okay, well, who else then can he be doing that with? I don't know.
That's true.
Like why not everybody here and all of us? Does that make sense? Like before he even takes that step.
No, I really love that because God interrupts Paul. First of all, God's paying attention to Paul.
Yeah.
To Saul. God knows who he is.
Yeah.
And he interrupts him before he does anything good.
Yes.
In what we would call good.
Yes, exactly.
God interrupts him with the mindset that he has, with the heart. But he has a heart for God. It's just
misplaced.
Yeah, it's just on the wrong road. And God sees all that. Oh my gosh, I'll be thinking about that. Because that's like how you want to see your children.
Yeah.
You want to see yourself. You want to know that God sees that you might just be a little bit misplaced.
Yeah, misguided.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, I love, and this, I don't know if this really has to do with grace a whole lot, but it's something that I think about with Paul's story. Pretty much whenever we talk about it, I think about it, because in Jerusalem, he was persecuting Christians, and he gets arrested when he's going back to Jerusalem to give money for the people who are starving. Basically, like he's in the other churches and he's collecting money. He's going to take it back to the people who are starving in Jerusalem. And everyone's like, don't do that. You're going to get arrested. He does get arrested and eventually dies, in Rome. And it's so similar with like Jesus's story of like going back to Jerusalem, and then being killed, but just to help people, right. And Paul's going back to Jerusalem to help people. But I think something I think about is like, I guess I always picture like the families that, like maybe they had a family member that was persecuted, like that was killed by Paul.
Yeah.
And that he's back now to like give them money and help meet their needs, like sacrificially. Like he knows like, yeah, this probably isn't going to go well for him, but he does it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just love that part of Paul's story, that it's not necessarily written in that like timeline, but when you think about it all, just like what that would have been for those families to have him come back.
Right.
That's a little pivot thing, but I think about that with him a lot, of just like, for all that he did, I guess, in the world, what that would have been for those people, I think about most often in terms of the impact that he made.
I mean, he's a great display of God's grace.
Yeah.
Isn't he? And in the end of it all, our lives, Paul's lives, is to glorify God.
Yeah.
And if we're not dispensing grace, then we're not glorifying God, right? So, and if we're not receiving it, it's imperative that we be open and surrendered, like Nate said, to receive the gifts from God of love and grace and peace. And because that's the only way, that's how we show up as light in the world. That makes people question us. It's like, what is it with you that causes you to be so different? And it's like, well, it's God's grace. Like, it's just God's grace, because you do not.
Because I've met me.
I've been the prodigal. I'm the older son. Yeah. So, I love this conversation. I was nervous about it, but
I feel like it's like the tip of the iceberg for grace, though. Like, I don't know. In some ways, I'm like, we could keep coming back. Like, I'll Google more things.
Yeah. We didn't talk about Nate's story. I'll let him go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we won't have to if you don't want to.
Well, you kind of hinted at it a little bit. And I think if anybody listening wants to make the connections, they can go back and listen.
Yeah. From the testimony episode.
But we didn't hear Janelle's side of the
the
story. Okay, so last
Was it testimonies? I don't know.
Yeah,
if that was
when we
the
talked
last one.
about testimonies, I talked about how I was sitting in church. I was, super depressed. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was at the end of my road. And then Janelle approached me and asked if I wanted to be a youth pastor.
Yeah, so that was so interesting listening, because I think I've maybe heard some of that, but maybe not that whole story in that perspective. So when I was listening to the podcast, I'm like, first of all, my name's mentioned, so that's really exciting for me. Second of all, I was like, wait, that was your side of the story? Because mine was, Amy and Tyler had been doing youth leading, and it was coming to where they were planning to move away. And so we're like, okay, we need another youth pastor. And it was, I feel like in the staff meeting or somebody was like, what do you guys think about Nate? And like, you had not really been doing youth stuff at that point. And it was like, okay, yeah, maybe. And then I had two separate dreams, like in the church, where it's like the room's dark and there's like a spotlight on Nate of like, and I go and approach you and ask you to be the youth pastor, and woke
That's
up like,
wild.
that's weird. And then I didn't do anything about it. So I feel like God was like, okay, we're going to need to do another dream.
Was there a spotlight on me when I was sitting there?
Kinda, it's funny how like that's kind of almost how I remember approaching you, because of those dreams being so vivid. And so then I had a second dream again,
Wow.
where like Nate's the youth pastor. This is like almost like this is how it should be. You're going to talk to him. This is what you say. Like almost like
Wow.
coaching me on how to do this. And then I was like, that's just weird. I'd like maybe, but like it would not have been my first, second, or third choice. Just in that you were not really involved in that way. And it felt kind of random to me. Like this is such a random person.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ask to be our youth pastor. Like,
Yeah.
okay. And then somebody else came up to me and was like, I don't know. I just have this, like a third person. Like, I just really feel like it should be Nate. That's the youth pastor. I'm like, yeah, I keep having these dreams that he should be. So I really feel like too, when I went to approach you, was almost to be like, God, you'll see me ask him, and you'll see that like, this is insane. And then we can move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can like
Yeah.
give me a dream about somebody else, or like, show me, because I really felt like when I asked you, you were going to think that was so strange. And like, why is Janelle, like, first of all, before that moment, like we'd see each other at church and say hi, but like I walked up like, I got to go talk to Nate. Like in the dream, like Nate's sitting there. And so I'm like pulling up a chair, like, hey Nate, how you doing? So we need a new youth pastor. Do you want to be the youth pastor? Like it really wasn't even like a, I don't know. I remember being like, I don't know if you want to, like, I gave so many outs. Like, you probably don't want to do this. You have other things that we don't pay very well. Like, you're not going to like it. Like so all the things. And you were like, open to it. And I was like, okay, well, we'll talk again later. Like it was, I really thought for sure you were going to be like, why are you asking me, you crazy person?
Yeah.
And so obviously then you took that job, and it was so exciting. But even then it was like, we really had to start from the ground up. I remember somebody like, is he like interested in this or trained in this? I'm like, he said yes. So we're going to go from there.
I don't know.
But we'll train him, and this will be great. And it was so awesome how that worked out. But it was just a funny thing to hear from your perspective, because I'm like, oh, that was not Janelle deciding who the best person would be there. Like that was 100% out of everybody on staff. Like God put this so clearly in my heart and in my mind, like Nate's the person I need to ask.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat to see from your perspective how God, I felt like, really sought you out in that moment.
Yeah. And that grace that I received in that, not just mercy, God he didn't end my suffering at the time. He used me and changed me so that I could extend that grace that I received. It's that what we were talking about, how it's restorative. It builds, it adds. It doesn't just end something. It adds. It keeps going.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and you've done such a good job, and I feel like that even kind of goes back to with like Paul, like God seeing the heart before he's even done anything to show that. Like I feel like God saw your heart there, and what you have done for the youth group and everything like that, and your heart for the ministry and for the kids has been just exceptional. So it's so exciting to have you as part of this team.
I loved it. When Nate shared, and then I talked to you and you shared, and I had told Nate at the time, I was like, God saw you he gave you a purpose.
Yeah.
Versus just, a temporary relief. He gave you a way to get outside of your own head, thinking about your own stuff and serve people. And that was his answer. And then Janelle just answered. It just was such an amazing example of God's grace and love and care and concern in our day-to-day, life. Not like, oh, this is my part of my grand plan and I had to, but it's like I care about him enough that I see him like, God, I was like, God, I saw you in 8. God, I saw you.
I was so crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That God knew that in a way nobody else would
That
have
you
known.
didn't even know ahead of time. That
I
you
had
did not
no
know.
idea.
That's what I loved so much.
That's really cool. I think I need to update my testimony.
I mean, I'm telling you, when I was listening to the podcast, I was like freaking out, like, there's more to this story. I want to tell you. Because I don't know if I had even told you to that extent how
it came about.
Yeah.
That you were having visions.
Yeah.
Dreams about Nate.
Like, I know this is weird, but it was really cool. And I think, even what you're talking about too, of like, you see the fruit of grace is that outward focus towards other people. And because when we have it just all as like, I'm struggling and God's going to help me. And it's like, yes, he will, but it's so that we can help others. Because when we keep that focus on ourselves, like it's not very fulfilling.
It's not.
Yeah, no, that was huge for me. I was serving that self-loathing within my own head. And once I got outside of that and was able to serve a community, it completely changed and transformed.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yoo-hoo.
Yay.
So,
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for joining us, Janelle.
Thanks, Janelle.
Thanks for having me.
I love it. You're our first guest.
I liked being here live and getting to tell you my reactions to what you're saying
person.
in person, because I'm definitely talking when I listen to it, like, oh, that's so good. And then I'm like, they can't hear me though, so I need them to know. So I'm always texting y'all so much afterwards.
We love the feedback, right?
Yep, we do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what we initially wanted with this podcast, is to have this an open conversation.
Yes.
Where anybody who wants to can join in on the conversation.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Don't forget to say about Bumper.
But, oh yes,
Yeah.
When Lawana and I met and we were talking about grace and what we wanted to say on this podcast, she made a very good point. How grace is like bowling bumpers.
It keeps you out of the gutter.
It keeps you out of the gutter.
I love it.
All right, that's it. Bye. We would love for you to be a part of the conversation. If you have anything you would like to add or share, you can leave us a comment or email at egcfpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening.
I have a tendency. I was thinking this last night. You're a grace hoarder. Like you get like.